Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Bean here, and today I'm coming at you with a video that I have not filmed in a while just because I have not filmed one. Actually, I think I filmed one 2 months ago. Not the point. But today I'm coming at you with an anticipated releases video, and hold on to your horses, guys. June is an intense release month for 2021. Let's see. I ended up having to write them all down. There's a bunch of them, guys. There's a bunch of them. So what I'm doing, instead of giving you a full synopsis of each book, I'm going to give you like a couple sentence little summary along with my thoughts on why this book is one that I'm choosing to mention. We've got 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I've got 19 here. So like I said, in order to keep this from being an exceptionally long video, I'm just going to jump in and I'm just going to do a little brief summary slash talk about why this book is on our list. All right, so the first date that we're going to talk about is June 1st, and the first book that we have is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahereh Mafi. Tahereh Mafi has beautiful writing. She's an amazing person, and I absolutely love her writing. This book takes place in 2003 when the US has recently declared war on Iraq. It follows a Muslim girl and how her world is turned upside down by this declaration of war and what's happening in the mosques in the US and everything that's going on. It sounds honestly very intense, and I'm very intrigued by this. The next book that we're going to talk about is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, Taylor Jenkins Reid, for those of you who don't know, wrote The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, along with Daisy Jones and the Six. So already a very well-known author, and honestly one of our favorites here on this channel. We did a review of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So if I remember, I'll link it down below. I'm bad at remembering things though. But this story takes place in Malibu, as the title suggests, in 1893. This takes place at a highly anticipated end of the season party of a very high-end family, each of whom have a different feelings about this upcoming party itself, and secrets they need to decide whether to keep or not to keep. So there are several different characters in this story, as is usual with Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing, so I am very excited for another book. We've waited about 2 years since the last one came out, so ready for another one. All right, the next book that we're talking about is another book that is from an author that we've read before, and that is Better Together by Christine Riccio. Callie added this to the list because she loves Christine Riccio's writing. I haven't read her first book yet, but I love Christine Riccio as a YouTuber, as a booktuber. She is amazing and so much fun. This story is advertised as Freaky Friday meets The Parent Trap, as two young women who are split up as small children due to their parents' extremely messy divorce, and they haven't seen each other since then. They find themselves at the same Rediscover Yourself camp in Colorado, and one is an aspiring stand-up comic, while the other is recently recovering from a career-ending injury in ballet, which absolutely is heartbreaking. With the help of a little bit of unexpected magic, they are forced to step into each other's shoes and live each other's lives for a while. So it literally sounds like a combination of Freaky Friday and Parent Trap, and I'm very excited for this concept and very happy for it. Next book we have for this date is Curse of the Spectre Queen by Jenny Elder Moak. I believe that this is a debut. I don't remember, honestly. But this is previewed to me as a female Indiana Jones in the 1920s, which really is all I needed to hear. But just to add more to it, this book follows Sam, an aspiring archaeologist who runs away from that life as soon as her father ends up going missing on an archaeological dig. She has secluded herself and is working at the family bookstore when she suddenly receives a package with a very damaged diary in it. And there are suddenly people that are looking for this diary and are willing to kill her to get it. And so her and her best friend end up finding themselves on this adventure to try and figure out why she has been sent this diary, what it is for, and how to stay alive in this process. So honestly, to me, this just sounds like a great adventure story. And I mean, look at this cover. I love it. I'm so excited. As far as sequels go for June 1st, the first one is The Tea Dragon Tapestry by Vicky O'Neill. This is the third book in the Tea Dragon Society series. This one is just adorableness, dragons, and tea, and do you need any more? Because you really shouldn't need anything else, because it's just a bunch of adorableness that continues. The other sequel that I wanted to talk about for June 1st is Grace and Glory by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the third and final book in her YA series, the Harbinger trilogy, and I know I said that wrong. I probably said it wrong the time before, and I apologize. I know someone called me out on it, and I am acknowledging you calling me out on it, and that I failed at finding out how to actually speak it. And then Callie called me out on it too, and I'm still failing, so apologies to you guys out there. I know I saw your comment, I listened to it, but I failed. Sorry. Don't hate me, please. I read the first book in this series a while ago, and I've actually read it twice now. And I thought it was really good, but with Jennifer L. Armentrout's other series, her adult series coming out right now, I didn't want this one to also be overlooked, so I decided that it would be a good idea to put this one in here as well. And this is her YA story about gargoyles. It's a lot of fun. Gargoyles and angels and demons and vampires and yeah, a lot of things going on there. A lot of things going on there. So it was a great book. I really enjoyed the first one. All right, moving on to our second date. It's going to be June 8th. So June 8th, the first book that I want to talk about is The Sea is Salt and So Am I by Cassandra Hart. This sounds like a heart-wrenching and very difficult story about a small town in Maine and the emotionally compromised teenagers who will end up hopefully trying to save it. I don't actually know. The description was a little vague on that. It sounds as though the town is one hurricane away from falling into the sea, and our main character is determined to save her town, but she's having a lot of trouble finding help. She's got, her friends are all dealing with a bunch of different crises, and it isn't until one of her friends attempts to drown himself in a hurricane and ends up failing, from my understanding, that the town starts to get involved. So yeah, it sounds interesting. I don't really know what to expect from it, but yeah, so that'll be a fun one, or not a fun one. I think that one will be a very intense and heart-wrenching one for sure. Next book, Fire with Fire by Destiny Soria. 1, I love this cover. Just gotta say that. 2, it talks about two sisters who were raised to fight dragons. Dragons! Okay, honestly, that's what I need, because dragons, I love dragons. I love them so much. Okay, I really like dragons. But one of these sisters ends up accidentally forming a magical bond with a dragon, which is something that she was told could never happen. So now she's wondering if what she was taught is actually correct, or if there's something going on that they're hiding, or there's something, what's going on here. No one really knows. And her sister, who is still by the heart, just kill all of the dragons, sees her sister being possessed, basically what she thinks to be possessed by the dragons, and it goes to the extent that she wants to save her sister, and so she goes to the extent of reaching out to a sorcerer in order to get help with this. Oh, this is all while they're in high school, so that's also fun. But it seems like it's really just about these two girls who are living in this magical fantasy world that is similar to ours but with dragons, and they're just trying to figure themselves out while they're fighting on opposite sides of a dragon war. I'm interested. Ooh, this next one. So the next one that I want to talk about is Daughter of Sparta by Claire M. Andrews. This one has been talked about before, I believe. But this is a reinterpretation of the myth of Daphne and Apollo. But basically they're going to give Daphne a more prominent and actually like a role in the story other than just being the love interest. But Daphne is a warrior for Sparta and ends up working with Apollo and kind of falling in love with him. And I'm very intrigued by this. I believe it's the first in a new series, but I am so excited for this book. Oh, this next book is also the first in a new series, and it is Girls at the Edge of the World by Laura Brooke Robson. This is the first in a new series, like I said, and it's set in a world on the very edge of an apocalyptic flood. So an apocalyptic flood is literally going to happen anytime. This is a romantic fantasy debut where a chosen few are chosen... This is a romantic fantasy debut where only a chosen few are guaranteed safe passage into the new world once this apocalyptic flood, once the waters recede. This is a female-female love story, and it sounds super intense and also super intriguing, and I just think that this cover is really adorable, and I'm very intrigued by the concept of an apocalyptic flood. An apocalyptic flood. Yes, that one. I'm very intrigued by that concept for a story and for a dystopian sort of story, because I haven't actually been reading a lot of dystopian stories lately because they were so overdone, but this one does sound at least a little bit new and refreshing, so I am very intrigued by this. Now, the one sequel that I have written down for June 8th is The Cruelest Mercy by Natalie May. This is the sequel to The Kinder Poison, which I talked about last year for this video for the June 2020 anticipated releases, and I do own that book. I just haven't yet read it. I've heard amazing things about it. There's a race, there's a damsel in distress who really doesn't plan on being in distress and doesn't really want to be in distress. And so she ends up working her way into the system, and it sounds amazing, and this second cover is just as gorgeous as the first. The next date that we're going to move on to is June 15th, and the first book I want to talk about is Sisters of the Snake by Sasha and Serena Nanua. Now, this book, other than having an absolutely gorgeous cover, again, what is with this, is described as an action-packed immersive fantasy that follows two identical strangers. So kind of getting Princess and the Pauper vibes here. One is a princess and the other is a street urchin who make a deal to switch places in order to try and save their own respective worlds. But it does sound like a magical version of The Princess and the Pauper, but I am excited for it because this, I don't know, it looks really good, and I really love this cover, so I will read it anyways, hopefully. Orange is kind of my favorite color. Just is. Next book I want to talk about is Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Sambury. This cover was the first thing that drew me, but then I read the first line of the description, and I'm just going to read it from here, which I've been reading most of this, but I'm going to actually just read the actual first line. A rich, dark urban fantasy debut following a teen witch who is given a horrifying task, sacrificing her first love to save her family's magic. Okay, I'm sold. That's all I needed to know, and that's honestly all I do know. I do know that if she doesn't sacrifice her first love, her family will lose their magic. So that's a whole other thing. Sounds very dramatic. I'm very into it. The next book that I want to talk about is, we're going back to contemporary here, is Youre So Dead by Ash Parsons. Now, Ash Parsons, I actually first heard about when I read a novella last year called The Haunting of Beatrix Green. And I absolutely loved that novella. It was one of my favorites of last year. And Ash Parsons was one of the co-authors for this novella. And so I figured I'd give one of their independent books a shot, see what happens. This book is supposedly Agatha Christie inspired, which has me intrigued already because I am a big Agatha Christie fan. If you didn't know, or if you're new here, hi. And it's for fans of One of Us is Lying and Truly Devious. So I'm quite interested, just to say the least, about this one. All right, and then another sequel that we have that's coming out on the 15th is Broken Web by Lori M. Lee. This is the sequel to Forest of Souls, which we talked about again last June, and I believe... yeah, it's actually on my TBR cart right now, so I should be reading it pretty soon. But I've heard amazing things about it. I just take forever to get to any of my books because I do. I don't know. All right, moving on to the next date. This is the second to last one, guys. I know we're almost there. June 22nd. The first book I want to talk about is A Season of Sinister Dreams by Tracy Banghart. Now, this book is one that Callie had on her list, and I've added it to my list since seeing her list. So, this is advertised as Furyborn meets A Court So Dark and Lonely by the author of Grace and Fury. Honestly, with this super awesome cover, that's all anyone needs to know about it. That's it. No one needs to know anything else. That's it. We're good. Cool. Good talk. Bye. We're going to read it. So that's kind of the summary, right? Cool. All right. The next one is the first book in a new series by an author who has written a series, and that is My Contrary Mary by the Lady Janie. So Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. And this is the first book in their Mary series. This one takes a spin on the story behind Mary, Queen of Scots. But Mary is a shapeshifter, which is illegal in this land. So we'll see how this goes. And the last book that I'm going to talk about for June 22nd is Witch Shadow by Susan Dennard. This is book 4 in the Witchland series, a series that has been going for quite a while. I own all of them up to this point, just haven't read them yet. I don't know how long this series is going to be, but since there are now 5 books out, one of them being a novella, it's I think 3.5 or 2.5, I believe is what it is. I just know that the series is super popular and it's about different types of witches, and there's a war going on, I believe, by now, so... yeah, everybody's been talking about it, so I'm very intrigued. And I love that these covers, they're not changing on much, and they're all still super intense and super artistically amazing. I love these covers so much. All right, the last date and the last book that I'm going to talk about comes out on June 29th, and that is Gear Breakers by Hana Makuta. This is a debut sci-fi story that is reminiscent of Pacific Rim, whoop, whoop, gotta love it, with aspects of Red Rising and the Legend series by Marie Lu. It follows 2 girls on opposite sides of a war, both with big secrets. One of them happens to be a spy from the opposing side of this war who has purposefully infiltrated and then might actually be falling in love with one of the girls here. Uh-oh, problems are going to arise. For me, I loved this cover, and I honestly can't get over the Pacific Rim vibes I am getting from this cover. So I am super excited for it, and I can't wait to get my hands on this book. All right, guys, that is what I got for you here today. I need some water. But if you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. We would love to hear what you have to say. And if there are any other books that you are looking forward to that I did not talk about, I know there are a whole bunch coming out this month, or this upcoming month. So please, please let us know what they are. Can't wait to hear from you guys. We post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And if you want to be reminded when we post these videos, hit the little bell icon down below. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep reading. Bye! I need coffee. Coffee.